COVID-19 pandemic has affected many schools across Guyana, and the Ministry of Education and Training has been working to address the issue. Many schools have had to close their door for almost an entire school year. It has disrupted classes, the learning process, and student social interaction. The problem has been worsened by COVID 19's adverse health effect on students, which led to the increase of absences, tardiness, and disruption. However, although COVID-19 pandemic has affected learning outcomes, students of Peters Hall Primary School has been accommodated and has been provided with distance learning and decrease the digital divide compared to many Caribbean countries. Peters Hall Primary School is located 6 degrees 46 minutes and 0 second north, 58 degrees 10 minutes and 0 seconds west.
Good day everyone. I am Kamlawati Mahabir and I'll be making a presentation on the challenges and accomplishments of COVID-19. Schools faced many challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic, but I will highlight just a few. 1. Many children were falling behind because of the lack of internet service and gadgets, resources, and instructional help at home. This simply means that parents and children could not afford to provide the technology for learning to take place. 2. Teachers and learners of Peters Hall Primary faced difficulties of integrating technology into the learning process. Because of this, several measures had to be put in place to ensure teaching or learning is done, especially for those students who can't afford devices. At this point, many teachers who were not technologically inclined had to take time to learn so as to ensure their students are taught.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, two challenges I faced during the pandemic was firstly due to the whole sudden change, which meant a new type of learning, and due to me not being technologically advanced, that was one of the biggest problems for me. And so the second issue was when some of the children had no access to devices, and so you would find less than half the class would be able to come online to engage in learning. So those are the two issues for me. Thank you.
Good afternoon, all. Being the mathematics subject teacher for the grade 6 level, the pandemic would have posed a serious threat to the delivery of the curriculum. And mathematics being a practical subject, this left me in shambles. And with my students being kinesthetic and practical learners, Zoom and other platforms left me in a handicapped position, for a lack of better words, since my learners weren't being actively engaged in the session, only being stimulated visually.
Good day everyone. My presentation is based on instructional accommodation in Peters Hall Primary School. STEM Guyana, being a part of the Ministry of Education program, decided to remedy issues and provide these instructional accommodation to increase learning income in areas of math, English, and science. This was helping to expose the pupils of Peters Hall Primary to use digital tools to accommodate learning. STEM Guyana was able to provide systems of learning pods in low-income neighborhoods so as to prevent these children from being isolated and give as much help as possible for learning to take place. The facilitators of these learning pods guide the children, and there is a teacher that is a part of the pod to help to answer questions. The teachers of Peters Hall Primary were able to create a space for presentation accommodation, response accommodation, timing or scheduling accommodation, and setting. Children from each level were placed in an ICT, and the teachers from these levels were tasked to teach a subject from the more modified curriculum following the MOE revised timetable. On the other hand, those teachers who were not comfortable to teach online continued with the traditional approach by following strict COVID-19 guidelines. In addition, children with physical disabilities at Peters Hall Primary School benefited by learning from the comfort of their home. The instructional technique also cooperated with children who needed help in understanding concepts from both techniques. Thank you very much.
The pandemic had a substantial impact on Caribbean children's education, with the shutdown of educational institutions beginning on March 2020, affecting 12 million pupils across 29 Caribbean countries. In the Bahamas, when it was determined that having access to internet was adequate, schools adopted a more complex digital strategy such as synchronous online classes that also include the physical delivery of educational materials. Because of the impact of COVID-19, many educational institutions in Bahamas adopted a more online approach, and the government of the Bahamas achieved its goal of a 1-to-1 device-to-student ratio in public high schools. Although there were some challenges in operating the devices, they soon overcome those challenges, and they continue to use or continue to implement the use of technology in their classrooms. Schools in Guyana also shifted to the online learning and kept the traditional method during the pandemic. This is due to the one device per child ratio not being achieved, putting the less fortunate at risk. The availability of devices and their affordability has led to this trend, but it's important to remember that the caliber of education is maintained through face-to-face interaction. The design of courses and the teacher-student ratio create an engaging learning environment. While some countries still need the help to overhaul traditional systems, others, such as Guyana, are successfully moving to an online learning model.
Recommendations to improve instructional accommodations. Consequently, the educational sector worldwide was ill prepared for a pandemic. And although many had used their readily available resources to engage children, more can be done in Guyana to eliminate the digital divide. Schools can work on getting their parents on board with the digital transformation so that they can help support their kids at home. Educators can continue using a blended learning approach that would allow our students to learn in the most comfortable environment, which will benefit children suffering from an illness or disability. The Ministry of Education should get internet access to all and encourage more use of integrated technology in the classroom or be required to self-isolate. We can also provide more support for our teachers to ensure they feel comfortable and confident in delivering lessons online by providing them with the necessary training and resources, as well as providing each household access to technology so that they can participate in class and stay up to date with their learning. My name is Faye Lewis, and I will be presenting our conclusion. Although the COVID-19 pandemic has altered the education environment to the point that its influence on the sector must be included in education planning for both recovery and accomplishment of sustainable development goals, with its commitment to excellent education for everyone. All pupils have been impacted by the lack of structure offered by schools, social networks, and safe spaces. With the pandemic's release, parents and guardians now have greater responsibility for the comprehensive education of their children. For pupils to benefit from the pandemic, educational institutions must work together to change the curriculum and teaching methods. The use of technology through radio, WhatsApp, television, and online platforms have paved the way for schools to implement digital learning. Thank you.
We would like to extend special thanks and gratitude to the Almighty Father for guiding and giving us the strength in completing this assignment. We would also like to give thanks to ourselves for the determination in completing this piece. Also, our colleagues for their support and ability to provide clarity. Our gratitude also extends to our lecturer, Ms. Michelle Braffett, in giving us this golden opportunity in researching and conducting a case study as it relates to instructional accommodations. This video was made and presented in partial fulfillment of the requirement for the course SPED 345 Group 20, Teaching Students in the Inclusive Classroom. I do hope you learn a few things about instructional accommodations in Peters Hall Primary School during the pandemic